So anything that's worth money operates in cycles, and real estate is really no exception to that. Every cycle creates bad advice, either targeted toward or born out of eager and emotional groups that are in the market. But this most recent cycle has created some of the most bad advice that I've ever seen. But the most dangerous part isn't that it's wrong, it's that it sounds responsible, it sounds safe, it sounds like something that a smart person would say, which is exactly why people end up falling for it again and again. They end up losing money and having regrets later on. So today I'm breaking down some of the most common and honestly horrible Canadian real estate traps or bad advice that people continue to spread. But not just what's wrong with it, but also why people believe it in the first place. Because bad advice doesn't spread unless it feels logical, unless people can actually resonate with what's being said. So little context, my name is Alex, I'm a realtor, and prior to I was a mortgage specialist, so I've seen a lot of these common mistakes from both sides. They're either just repeating something that used to be true at a different time, or things that are true when you're only looking at a tiny sample size, like a tiny slice of the full picture. And that's where people get hurt. So with that said, let's start with bad advice number one: just use the listing agent. So this one sounds efficient, right? You know, why have to bring somebody else into the deal if you don't have to? But here's the problem. The listing agent has a legal obligation to protect their client's best interest, which in this case is the seller. And the easiest way to understand the listing agent's obligation is by doing this. You just put yourself in the seller's shoes at all times. So listing agent logic is, if I were the seller here and my agent knew this piece of information, would I absolutely want to know it? So if you, the buyer, you walk up to the listing agent and you trust, you feel a bond, you feel a connection of some sort, and then you reveal your budget or your timeline or your motivation, the listing agent is obligated to pass that on to their client, and they are not obligated to tell you that that's happening. Now, really the cherry on top is the seller pays both sides commissions regardless of who represents who. So even if you don't bring your own agent, you're not saving any money. You're just making sure that the guy who's working against you, the listing agent, is getting paid twice. So if the seller agreed to a 5% commission, which is the typical split, 2.5 to the selling brokerage, 2.5 to the buying brokerage, if you don't bring an agent, the selling brokerage pockets the full 5% while still working exclusively for the seller. So yes, call another agent. They'll be happy to help. They are legally required to protect your best interests. There is no scenario where just using the listing agent benefits the buyer. There's none. Bad advice number two is list high. You can always come down later. This one kills listings outright. The first 2 weeks in real estate are everything. Buyers who are working with realtors have automatic searches set up for a specific home type, area, price range, and the moment your home hits the market, it gets sent instantly to every active buyer that is searching in that range. So if you overprice it out the gate, you're not leaving yourself room to negotiate. What you're doing is something much worse. You're either preventing qualified buyers from booking a showing because they just assume that it's out of reach, or you are preventing them from seeing it in the first place because it's above their search price. So it never even shows up in their inbox. Then 2 weeks pass by, 1 or 2 showings, it's quiet. And now the price drops begin. And price drops do not create confidence. They create a lot of suspicion. Why hasn't this sold yet? It looks great. Look at the pictures. But it's been sitting for months and they've already dropped the price 3 times. There has to be something wrong with it. Reality is, there's nothing wrong with the house. The only thing that was wrong was the price. But now buyers just can't help themselves but create some sort of answer to why the property is not selling, right? So they're creating problems that never existed. I mean, compare that with the alternative of just pricing it correctly out the gate, right? So you're gonna drive tons of competition, you'll attract multiple buyers at the same time, and this creates urgency, and urgency creates competition, and competition is what drives prices up, really. Not starting high and leaving yourself room to come down. Bad advice number 3 is sell it yourself. You'll save the commission. This one is just expensive confidence.
I put that house on the market. In the first day, I had 23 showings. I had 7 offers, and I had 5 Zillow inquiries that came straight to me.
All right, so this video was posted January 2021, and we all know what the housing market did during the pandemic. Homes were selling instantly, almost everything was getting multiple offers. So when somebody says that they had 23 showings and 7 offers in 1 day of being listed, that doesn't prove that it was easy. What it proves is that it was underpriced. And underpricing is one of the most common mistakes that for sale by owners make. If your goal is just to sell, then sure, price it well below market value. It'll move fast, and then you can go tell everyone how easy it was. But we all know the goal is not just to sell. It is to sell for the most amount of money possible. So yes, selling by yourself, you'll save the commission. But the data consistently shows that for sale by owner homes sell for far less. Over the past year, the median price for a for sale by owner sale was $360,000 versus $425,000 for agent assisted sales, according to the National Association of Realtors data. That is an 18% gap. And by the way, the stats for 2024 only show a 13% gap, which means that the further away that we are are getting from the seller's market, the bigger that gap is. You know, saving 5% to then lose 18% on sale price is not a win. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking right now because I've seen these comments before. Of course, NAR would say that, right? They just want to promote realtors. First of all, they have the data, they have the statistics, right? But let's just assume that what they're saying is factually correct. Are you saying that they should just not publish it? And beyond that, is it really that surprising to anyone that when you hire professionals, you tend to yield better results? I mean, I don't know, but I would say that that is probably the case in most industries. So exposure matters, negotiation matters, process matters, and experience matters. However, not all agents are the same, and hiring the wrong one can absolutely hurt you. So before you hire one, make sure you do your research. Bad advice number 4 is you need 20% down. It feels reasonable, it feels smart, it feels safe, but it's actually incorrect. So in Canada, owner-occupied homes can be bought for as little as 5% down on homes under $500,000. So if you're waiting years just to get to 20% down payment, oftentimes it's going to cost you a lot more than the mortgage insurance premium that you're saving. So this advice usually comes from people who bought in a different time or in a different market, and it just doesn't apply anymore. Real quick, if you're enjoying the video, please be sure to hit the like button below. I would really appreciate it. It would truly help me out. But also, if you'd like to see more Canadian finance and real estate related videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Bad advice number 5 is you should renovate before selling. Look, this is what we call the HGTV effect. You know, people want their listing to be the one, you know what I mean? The one everyone's talking about, the one that stands out, the one that buyers are competing for. The reality is renovations are expensive now. Labor costs are high, materials are expensive, ROIs are shrinking. Even adding things like custom finishes are rarely going to pay you back. And the contrary is going too bland can also backfire because human tastes vary too widely. The truth is, most sellers are not losing money because their house is ugly. They lose money because it's dirty or poorly presented, especially online, or it's priced wrong and it's not attracting the right crowd. That's it. Small strategic improvements around the house are going to beat a full-scale remodel almost every single time. If you want your property to show well, focus on these 3 things. Number 1 is repair anything that is broken. Number 2 is freshen it up where needed. So whether that's paint or new light fixtures, outlets and light switch covers, door handles, vent covers, even landscaping. Number 3 is keep it super clean, which includes decluttering. Bad advice number 6 is bigger is always better. While it is true that you can grow into a bigger home, it might not always be the best financial decision. You know, bigger houses don't guarantee wealth. What they do guarantee is higher taxes, higher utilities, higher maintenance, and higher stress. Bigger only makes sense if you actually need the space or you're going to need the space in the near future, or if your plan is to add value intentionally. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. You're just paying for more expenses. Bad advice number 7 is renting is throwing money away. This one is only half true, which is why it's incredibly dangerous, and you need to know the full context. Renting can actually be smart. What's throwing money away is renting without a long-term plan, or buying just to escape renting. You know, you need to realize that renting is also buying flexibility, whereas ownership is buying forced discipline. Look, neither is automatically better than the other, and this remains such a highly debated topic, but what's hands down the worst possible answer to this one is believing that there is one solution that fits everyone. Bad advice number 8 is you need perfect credit. Look, banks are not lending you multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars based on a 3-digit number. What they're looking at is your income, your debt ratios, your employment stability, and your repayment history. Before approving you, all they're really trying to find out is how confident am I that this person's going to pay me back? That's it. So no, you don't need perfect credit, but if you have collections that are in debt recovery, or you have missed payments everywhere and unstable income, don't be shocked if you're declined. What your credit score is affecting is the rates that the bank is giving you. Now, yes, your rate affects your payment, which will affect your debt ratios, but it's not closing the door shut. So this belief stops people from even trying in the first place. They just assume that they're disqualified when in reality, they're just uninformed. The real problem with these bad advice is that it usually comes from people who survived it and are just passing that on because they think that what they did was good. So if this video saved you from even one bad decision, please be sure to hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for more. And if you're looking for a realtor in Eastern Ontario and you think we'd be a good fit, head to the link in the description below. With that, thanks for watching. Until next time.